let me tell you, when I first spoke with you, I literally identified like 5 or 6 things that I was like, oh, this is good. Like, we all go out and do it. We all purchase these courses thinking that it's
Mhm.
going to help us. And some do.
Yeah.
And I think it's always the ones that have to do with you having to implement something, that there's a block somewhere. Not for everyone, but for most people.
Right.
And I like that there is an alternative. And even after our first conversation, I went out and was telling everybody about it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have her on the podcast and you have to listen because this is going to be insane.
Yeah, this is good stuff. And it's not that we don't need courses. I don't want the coaches to go out there going, oh my gosh, she's telling people never to take a course again. No. In fact, what I've been doing is reaching out to a lot of these coaches and saying, look, I know you have people like me, and I want them to complete your course so that they get success. Because we don't want serial course takers.
Correct.
We want business people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast episode. On today's episode, we have Jennie Hays from Beyond Mindset. She's a Beyond Mindset mentor. And Jennie, thank you so much for coming on. I want you to dive right in, tell our listeners about you, your story, and how did you start?
All right, so that's just a small little question, right? So, I call myself a Beyond Mindset mentor because most people don't know what my technical term is, which is Brainspotting practitioner.
Right.
Brainspotting is a wonderful, unique device for helping break through blocks, and we'll dive into that a little bit further here in a few minutes. Who am I? Well, I came up through traditional medicine. I'm a paramedic by trade, and found myself insulin resistant. And I was like, oh, crud. I've been teaching people for 15 years the wrong way to deal with diabetes because I knew it couldn't be the right way because it wasn't working. I was watching people die. I was literally working at a podiatry office as the surgical coordinator so we could cut people's feet off that were diabetic. So I made this huge change in my life, and people were following me. They're like, oh, you're melting away. You have all this energy. What are you doing? And so I started teaching. And as I started teaching, I thought, this is my calling. This is what I'm meant to do. And so I decided to become an insulin resistance reversal coach. If you notice, that's not what the title says.
Right.
Well, that's because I ran into some issues. So I signed up for coaching because, that's what every good brand new coach does. And I went to this event in Florida, all excited, was amped up. I was going to learn to speak in front of people. And I wanted to specifically speak at churches because I knew there was a need for this, at least my local church and in Texas in general. And so I thought, this is the thing. Awesome. On the plane ride back, we get a call, and my mother-in-law has just had a stroke. We go to the hospital, deal with all of that. She was okay at that point. So, but there was some, typical outcomes after that we had to deal with. 3 days later, my dad dies unexpectedly. Needless to say, I was not speaking anywhere. I was crushed. It took me a few months to get back on my feet, as grieving should take us.
Right.
And right in the middle of my grieving process, COVID hits. I'm still not going to be speaking anywhere, especially churches, since all the churches were shut down upon penalty of prosecution. So I was like, great, now I need to figure out what to do. So, good little coach, I went and paid for some more coaching, and I learned digital marketing. Great, except when it got to the marketing part, I shut down. And I thought to myself, oh, it's the program. It's just the program. It's not me. I'll just go into the next one. So I found another one. It was like, okay, this one aligns better. This is better. And yet when I got to the marketing part, guess what happened? Same thing.
Yeah.
Now, I wish I could say that I was smart enough to pick up on this quickly, but I wasn't. And I hadn't even connected with the fact that when I was much younger, I had tried several network marketing programs, Amway before it became Advocare, Mary Kay, um, the list goes on, and had the same thing. When it got to the point where you had to go out and reach out to people, I would shut down.
Hmm.
So, meanwhile, all this is going on. I've made $267 in 3 years, not counting the thousands, tens of thousands of dollars I had spent. And so my husband comes to me and he says, "You're going to have to get a job. You have to."
Oh.
I was crushed, kicking and screaming and crying and upset, thought that my dreams were over. They weren't. So if anybody's in that situation, take a deep breath, put on your big girl panties. It's okay. That doesn't mean you can't keep moving forward. Um, and I happened to fall into this great position. This company that I work for is called Zenny. And what they do is help therapists to grow their businesses, their private practices, whether they're just starting or scaling. And they kept running into a similar mindset issue that I had run into so many times. And so they taught us brain spotting.
Oof.
So I fell in love with brain spotting. And I did a little brain spotting of my own and realized that all of this time I'd been trying to run a business that really didn't align with who I was as far as in the way that it had to be done. Health coaching is completely different than business coaching. And I was actually starting to self-sabotage myself. And it dawned on me, I was like, why am I not doing brain spotting? I love it. I absolutely love it. The results are phenomenal and just mind blowing, as mine were, because you know what? I'm here right now, which
Mm-hmm.
is something I
Right.
wouldn't have been doing a few years ago, right?
Right.
Um, so that's how I ended up where I am today.
Oh, listen. Okay. I love the intro. I love the fact that you're able to walk everyone on this journey. And let me tell you, when I first spoke with you, I literally identified like 5 or 6 things that I was like, oh, this is good. Like, we all go out and do it. We all purchase these courses thinking that it's
Mhm.
going to help us. And some do.
Yeah,
And I think it's always the ones that have to do with you having to implement something, that there's a block somewhere. Not for everyone, but for most people.
right.
And I like that there is an alternative. And even after our first conversation, I went out and was telling everybody about it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have her on the podcast and you have to listen because this is going to be insane.
Yeah, this is good stuff. And it's not that we don't need courses. I don't want the coaches to go out there going, "Oh my gosh, she's telling people never to take a course again." No. In fact, what I've been doing is reaching out to a lot of these coaches and saying, "Look, I know you have people like me, and I want them to complete your course so that they
Hmm.
get success." Because we don't want serial course takers. We want
Correct.
business people.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. We
Um,
want to push out another generation of entrepreneurs that can actually get the mentorship that they need, but be able to absorb and implement, which is huge.
which is huge. Yeah. And that's really what a lot of people are lacking. I mean, it was so bad with me that the last course that I signed up for, I actually interviewed, this was a big major company. And I interviewed the person that was going to be my coach and asked, now, am I going to have to make a list of 20 people I know and reach out to them? Because if so, I'm not coming.
Wow. 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 So you were determined not to speak to anyone. Okay. Okay. I love this. All right. So let me dive into you.
Yes.
All right. So that was that version of you. And
Mhm.
what's the version of you now?
Oh my goodness. I am a networking fool. I just did my first speech yesterday. I have probably had 30 networking coffees in the last month and a half, 2 months. Um, I'm just not afraid to be out there talking to people.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've
Oh,
I reached out to people that I know that I consider to be mentors of mine and told them about this and invited them to participate and feel what it's like so that they could share. And it's just, you would never know that it was the same person if you were
wow.
looking from the marketing aspect.
Wow. What would you looking back now, what would you tell that version of yourself um like even a couple of months ago?
You're not broken.
Ooh.
You're not
Oh,
broken, because I had gotten to that point where I was starting to blame myself and think, you just can't do it. You're just broken. There's something wrong with you. All these other women, all these other people can step over that ledge and you
wow.
can't.
Wow. And how long did it take learning about the block that from when you learned about it to when you cleared it?
Um, I don't think I really recognized the block until I was doing the brain spotting,
Hmm.
and then it was gone by the end of the session. I knew that there was something wrong, but I couldn't identify it. And I'm pretty good at identifying blocks, but our vision is always better when we see it in somebody else.
Ooh. Yep. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
missed this one. I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't identify it as a block. Um, and so I did the session. It was an hour session. And at the end of it, it was like, oh, I need to be doing this my way. Well, I can
Hmm.
do that.
Wow. And oh, can you walk us through what a typical session looks like?
It's better for me to explain how it works than a session, because
Ooh, okay.
every session is different. I always tell my clients that you cannot do it wrong. Okay.
No. Okay.
Um, so, brain spotting. What in the world is brain spotting? Okay. Are we drawing polka dots or something? No. So, if we think of our brain like a cauliflower, okay, I want you to split that cauliflower in half in your mind and open it up. And you see the florets and you see those stems that you never quite know what to do with. Do you keep them? Do you throw them away? And then you see the core, the middle. Now, we're going to do some real loose anatomy on this. So, anybody who's actually anatomical, medical, forgive me, but this is for demonstration purposes. The florets work as the area of the brain that stores and processes your memories. Okay, this is the thinking part of the brain, the cortex. Those stems that are kind of in the middle that you never know quite what to do with, that we're going to call your lizard brain. That's your limbic system. The limbic system's job is fight, flight, and fawn. It's where those emotions, if your husband walks in and says something and all of a sudden you just blow up and you don't even know why, that's coming from the limbic system. Okay. It's all about that emotion. It does not store emotion in a healthy way. It'll store it, but it will not store it in a healthy way. And then for our purposes, instead of the core being the brainstem, we're going to talk about that being the connection to the body. Okay. So we have something happen in life, whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever. It comes in through that thick core, through the body. The body senses the emotion, it goes up in that limbic system, and the limbic system gets to make a decision. Is this emergent? Is this something that I need to react to? Or can I let that higher part of the brain just kind of deal with it and store it? Well, when we have these traumas, micro traumas, little bitty ones, big ones, doesn't matter. And it can be something so just small that you don't even realize it, right? It comes in the body. You'll feel it at the time. A lot of times you push it away because you don't like the feeling. It goes into that limbic system, that lizard brain, and it goes, oh, this is bad. It's going to kill us. So it says, I'm not going to share this with the memory storage. I'm going to keep this here and we'll process it later when it's safe.
Mm.
Only problem is that especially in our culture, we don't process that. So what happens is over time, it leaks out a little bit. We get stimulated again. Boom, comes back in. Oh my gosh, this is going to kill us. Still not giving it to the brain. And so now we've got this block here that's stuck and it's causing us problems. It shows up as procrastination, avoidance, just feeling terrible, that gut wrenching, that knot in your chest or your throat. That is the block. Okay. What brain spotting does is we use something that you were already born with. So if you think about when you look at a baby, if a baby's just learning to walk and they fall on their butt, what do? They look around the room, who's looking, and how are they reacting? Right? They are using your nervous system to regulate theirs. They're taking your emotion and applying it to themselves. We can still do this as adults. So I stand in as the mom that saw the baby fall and is calm and encourages it to keep going while you're processing this block. And so the body senses, oh, you know what? I have somebody here who's safe. I can unpack this. And the way we unpack it is we find the spot in the body, that tightness or the heaviness or the knot, and we tune into that while we focus our eyes on a specific point that helps to locate where that lizard brain has stored that memory. We don't have to relive the memory. We don't have to talk about the memory. You can talk as much as you want or as little as you want. All we got to do is process the emotion.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. So, I'm super excited.
Yes.
So, does it work for everyone and can it work for kids too?
It works best for people who have a sense of feeling in their body. Having said that, it doesn't mean it won't work for someone who is not sensitive in their body. Usually it'll take just a little bit more prompting.
Okay. Explain sensitive in their body.
So if you think of the last time that you were scared down to your toes, just that.
Yeah.
If you felt that in your stomach or your chest or your muscles and not just in your brain, you have a sensitivity to your body. We can tune into that. It's okay if you don't. We have tools that we can get around things. I've got so many different back doors and ways in because I don't just do brain spotting. I've got some other tools that I can sprinkle in, like guided meditation. There's RRT. There's all kinds of things. Just too much to get into right now. And you were asking about kids. Yes, kids, they do brain spotting on kids. I've never done it. But usually instead of using our pointer, which I hadn't shown that to you yet. So that's a pointer. And you literally find the spot. They'll use a toy. And they'll have the kids sit there and stare at the toy. And you can even do it on someone who's blind. Because they still move their eyes if they have eyes. And even if they don't have eyes, they can still move the muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And the body thinks they're moving the eyes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, this is super exciting.
Yeah. So if you have a playful nature or if you've got an issue that you just really want to try something, it'll work on you.
Mm-hmm. And how do you compare what you're doing now to traditional like therapy and even hypnotherapy?
Okay.
How would you compare it?
So traditional therapy, number one, traditional talk therapy takes forever. And I know because I work with therapists. Now, granted, a lot of traditional therapists have got new tools, but even with some of the more current techniques, EMDR, CBT, you can look up these initials later, guys. They still take quite a bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't. 1 to 3 sessions usually will clear that block. Most people have significant change in one session.
Wow.
Hypnotherapy. So hypnotherapy, um, it works on a layering system. We calm the body down, get into the subconscious, teach it something, but then we have to keep reteaching it and applying it. And it
Mm-hmm.
takes, again, time. Most people don't go to a therapist one time and get complete relief. Those ads that you see for people, oh, quit smoke. It used to be in the 80s. I'm dating myself here. Quit smoking in one session. Yeah, you quit smoking, but then a few months later it comes back. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that I don't see with brain spotting. Even tapping. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah.
tapping on the acupuncture points. I had some very sudden onset claustrophobia. I'd never had claustrophobia before, and it was disrupting my life. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to try this. I just learned it, might as well. So I did tapping for it, and it cleared it. It was amazing. But about a year later, I had to do it again.
Wow.
So it makes a huge difference that this is not only immediate almost, but lasting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pardon me.
No worries. And doing this, right, and helping entrepreneurs, or anyone go through this
Mhm.
process, what results have you seen?
Oh my goodness. So one of my favorite cases was one of my first ones that I did. This woman, beautiful, lovely woman, but was terrified. This was actually when I was doing it for Zenny Me, and she wanted to let her physician know that she had started her own practice, but she was terrified, absolutely terrified. We had done a lot of the traditional mindset techniques, gone through the limiting beliefs, all of that work. Nothing was working. And I was like, I just learned this. Let's try it. So we did a session. She had her appointment that afternoon. She went to her appointment. Not only was she able to tell her physician, but she called 2 other physicians that she had worked with previously and had a list of 25 people that she'd worked with in a previous career that she was calling and telling.
Wow.
Yeah, insane. And then I have a dear friend that I had been working with the insulin resistance, and she has severe anxiety. Granted, she's seen a doctor, she's seen a therapist. I'm not out of my wheelhouse here. But she just wasn't getting control of it, even with nutrition. So it was like, okay, let's just play and try, because she had severe medical anxiety. If she got the slightest little bit of a headache, she thought she had an aneurysm, panic attack, full blown. We did one session of brain spotting, and it's been about a year and a half now. And she still says, those panic attacks don't come. She said, I know I'm supposed to have a panic attack. I can feel that there's something in there saying I'm supposed to, but it doesn't happen. And she's had 2 positive pap smears with a procedure for one, and her mother has got glioblastoma. And all of this has occurred since the brain spotting. Normally that would have sent her into a tailspin.
Wow. That is amazing. That
Yeah.
is amazing. I'm so excited to have you on. I mean, like I've never heard of it before
Mhm.
meeting you, and I pray that more people hear about it,
Yeah.
because it's imperative. Like you need to be able to clear those blocks to be able to move forward, And how has that helped your entrepreneurial journey? Like, how has that helped
Oh,
you grow your business?
this is so much different. This is so much different because I'm I'm loving what I do. I don't, I used to come into my office. Granted, my commute is around the corner of my house inside. Um, and I would get in there and I would be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. And even though I'd had all this training, and now I come in here and it's like, oh yay, who do I talk to today? What interviews am I doing? Who am I, who's am I brain spotting today? What is that going to look like? Because it's so exciting. I love the moment. So there's a moment in brain spotting. Brain spotting usually starts out pretty dark because we're digging into the ugly, right? And then there's this moment where there's this realization where someone will go, I hadn't thought of it like that before. Or, well, now that makes sense. And then
Wow.
it comes into the light. And that's the way that it feels in my business too, is that it was so dark and overburdening. And now it's like, oh, this is fun. I'm loving this. I love the brain spotting sessions. I love talking to the people. I get to meet new people every week because it is a rapid turnover. Now, I will tell you, it is addicting because, once we clear one block, I always say, don't worry. There's plenty more that you can dig into later when you're ready.
Wow. Wow. I'm sure. I'm sure. I am sure. But I love the fact that it gives people the ability to just be,
Hmm.
because I mean, you may have all the potential in the world, but if you can't get past whatever it is that's stopping you, it.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a session last week with a gentleman who his lack of organization was affecting his business. He was like, I I can't get organized. I can't stay with my calendar. I'm late all the time. I can't do my notes. I can't do all of this stuff. And so I was like, well, let's try brain spotting it. So we brain spotted it, and his realization was, you know what? If I fall down, I can get back up again. And
Wow.
I asked him, I was like, so how does that make you feel now? He was like, I can do it. And this was at the end of the session. This wasn't 2 weeks later. This wasn't 6 weeks later. This was 50 minutes later. Well,
I love that.
I can do it now.
I love that. I love that. And how, since now you're much better in terms of like how you're going out there, how you're meeting people, networking. How have you implemented all of the previous courses that you took that
Oh,
you weren't able to implement?
where do I start?
Ooh, ooh.
So I have my website is up and beautiful. I've got my automations in practice. I took a lead magnet course. I've got my lead magnet, which I'll give you guys the link for that. I have a 30-minute free course because I took that course too. I've got one of the things that I find, and eventually I imagine I will go into business coaching because this journey over the last 5 years, I have learned so many things. And it's really not that any particular thing doesn't work.
Right.
It's really about finding what works for you.
Hmm.
If you are the kind of person that loves to talk to people, don't sit around and send emails all day long.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, um, there's so many people out there saying you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this. The only thing you have to do is make connections. And you get to do that the way that you do because you're then going to connect with people like you, which is
Hmm.
really who you want for your clients anyway.
Well, that is it. It's being in the right mindset to attract the right people. And that is
Mhm.
so important because, you could always have a business and have clients coming in, but they're not your ideal.
Right. And my advice would be even though it's scary, and it is scary at the beginning, even though it's scary, if that client is not your ideal client, let them go.
Oh, yeah.
Have enough of a referral system that you can send them to somebody that they can possibly work with. Here's why. Number one, you're not going to be happy while you're doing it, especially if it's a long-term coaching thing. You don't want to dread your next coaching session, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number
Mm-hmm.
two, they're not going to get the results that you can deliver, block
Mm-hmm.
or no,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't align. And the last thing that you need, both for your personal, value as well as the appeared value of your coaching or your course, is someone who doesn't need to be in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely can agree with that. I've had clients that, you give them the thing to do. They say they're going to do it, but then they don't do it. And it doesn't make them bad people. It just means that they're not the right
Mm-mm.
people or right fit for you.
Well, I would challenge you and say if you give them the thing to do and they don't do it, you send them to me.
No,
I
listen,
brain
when we
spot them
met, I
and
was
they'll come
like,
back and
you know
do it.
what? I know quite a few people that need to come to you, including myself, right? Including myself.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Um, the Usually when people don't align, I think, and this is just my experience, is that it's really more of they're not there's a of course I really am sensitive to an unspoken emotion, but there seems to be like an unspoken unhappiness with the
mm,
coaching, and it's not about doing the thing, it's about they're not aligning, but they're a lot of times they're not going to tell you because they
mm-hmm,
think of you as some guru, and they should think of you as an expert, but they forget that you're human and that they need to say, hey, this isn't working for me. And
and
sometimes it's okay, it's not working for you, we need to let you go. Sometimes it's not working for you, you have a block. Sometimes it's not working for you, how do we adjust?
mm-hmm. And it's funny, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and he was talking about the fact that he spent, like, I don't know, maybe $50,000 to be in a mentorship program. And this was like the top
Mm-hmm.
level, top tier mentorship program. And what he explained is that they told him to do things that he wasn't comfortable in doing, like he needed to do this webinar, and then he ran this funnel to it. And then whatever the situation is, that's the thing that he was supposed to do to get to the next level of his career. And he said, no matter what, he saw everybody else getting results. He saw that it was working. But for him, that just wasn't the right strategy, or just wasn't the right thing. And the minute it occurred to him and he adjusted was the minute he saw success. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
listening to
And
you
so,
now, I'm
yeah,
like,
then we
what?
again we
That's
look
the
at,
thing. Yeah, that's the thing. Just
is
aligning
it
with the thing that
adjustment,
works for you. Hmm.
or is adjustment not going to work? Like it wouldn't have worked with me. I
Hmm.
could have told you all day long that this isn't going to align with me. And those would have been words that I would have used. But it wasn't as much that it didn't align with me as that nothing was going to align with me. So in his
Hmm.
case, he was able to tap in, and that's awesome.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And when I was watching it, I was like, that makes sense. Or, it makes sense. If you don't
Yeah,
feel comfortable going out speaking to people or knocking on doors, and
do
that's
it.
the thing that you need to do, then there's nothing in the world that's going to make you knock on someone's door if that's just not your
Maybe.
thing.
Yeah, maybe. Not, but
It
I don't know. If it's not your thing, if it truly isn't your thing,
If
because I
it
will
truly isn't
say
your thing.
that inside of me is a desire to talk to people and speak. I mean, I'm the person at the CVS that the person walks up to and tells their life story to, or somebody else walks up and wants to know where the lipstick is. And I'm like, I don't look like I work here, do I? But I talk to everybody and everybody talks to me. So maybe that is the difference there. That's a very astute understanding.
Right, right. So you have that magnetic personality. I can tell. I definitely can tell. And
Yeah.
let me ask you, how is it taking on all of that? Because you still have to go through the dark to get to the light, right?
Mhm.
So how is it working with people when you have to go through that with them, those emotions with them?
Because they're not having to relive the story. So what we do
Mm,
is we sink into just the feeling. I always tell people to have a box of tissues, but it's not like having to retell everything and dig into everything. All we're doing is really allowing the body to feel the feels,
mm-hmm,
and it goes by pretty quickly.
mm.
Um, Usually within about the first 5 or 10 minutes, we have found the uncomfortable emotion or feeling, and it's already starting to lessen.
That's
And there's
awesome.
significant time in finding it. So it doesn't take long. A lot of times, and I always, as we're doing the session, I'll tell people, your body just wants to be heard. Just listen to it for a few minutes. It's uncomfortable. The fastest way through it is just to be with it, let it say what it needs to say, and it'll be done. And it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm going to go back to some things you were saying before. You said that you have some links to share.
Oh,
What are
yeah.
those?
So I've got a free break free from invisible barriers. It's a quick guide to clearing emotional blocks. Now, this is a traditional mindset training because I can't teach you how to do brain spotting in a PDF guide.
Right.
I'll give you my website so that you can go learn about it,
Mm-hmm.
but really you have to experience brain spotting. But I want to give the listeners a tool so they can get started.
I love
And in this, the next step up from what you'll find online everywhere, because we know that there's nothing new on the planet, right? Um, is that we're actually going to start priming you to feel those emotions in this free guide. Okay. And then if you like the free guide, then at the end of the free guide, there's a link to join a 30-minute free masterclass where we can dig into different techniques and why things work and what they don't, and the mechanisms and all of that. So, is there a place for me to put that? Would you like me just to send it to you and you can attach it at the bottom?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So we'll attach that at the bottom of the episode.
okay. Yeah. And then you can always connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook also. Feel free to message me directly. I don't mind. I'm not really quick at returning messages on Facebook. I'm very strict about keeping my evening hours and my weekends, because that's the life I want to lead. I want to be able to spend time with my husband and my animals, and go fishing and go to the beach, and
Boundaries. I love it. I love
boundaries.
it. I love it. Boundaries. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely. I love the fact that they can reach out to you, that there's a way for them to connect. Um,
Yeah.
in this, in this, in a grand scheme of where you are now, where do you see yourself and your business 2, 3 years from now?
2, 3 years from now, I think I'll be growing into that business coaching because I think that the brain spotting will be so full that I won't be able to do enough one-on-one. We'll be doing some group brain spotting, which
Mhm.
is possible. I just haven't played with it very much yet. So I
Yeah.
love the one-on-one.
And
Um,
sorry
mhm.
to cut you. Do you do the one-on-ones on online, or do you do them in person? Can
I
it be
do
done?
everything online. I'm
Oh
completely
wow.
virtual. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it
Sorry to
makes
cut.
it super easy for everybody because their commute is as long as mine. Just go to the
Right.
different room, and it saves time. There's privacy; they can have as much or as little privacy as they need, um, and they don't have to drive all the way out to a little podunk town in Texas. So,
I get it. I get it. I get it. Well, I love it. I love that it can be done online. But yeah, go
yeah.
back to what you were saying about your 2 year. I'm sorry I had to cut you
Oh,
there.
that's okay. Yeah, I expect by then, because it is so emotional and I am providing space for that emotion, I can only do about 3 sessions a day. And so I imagine by then I will have long been maxed out on my days. And so I'll
Mhm.
be looking to expand. Do I go into the business coaching? Are people expressing that they want that? Or, so that I can hold their hand through the next step? Or are we looking at the group coaching? Um, my my eyes are just open to possibility. I really want to tap into what do people want, because there's so much out there. Coaching, the coaching industry, people who are doing coaching is growing by about 20% a year.
Wow.
But people purchasing coaching is only growing by about 4%.
Wow.
So it really is about making sure that you know what your audience wants, not having the blocks to get you stuck, making sure that when you do discover a skill that you need, that you have an authority, somebody who can get you that skill and help you get to that next level. And then setting those boundaries, because you can drive yourself crazy trying to get there.
I agree. Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I love our conversation. What would you say to the aspiring entrepreneur that wants to start a business that doesn't know necessarily that there are some blocks? What advice would you give? How would they find it or identify it in order for it to help them?
So the first thing that I would recommend is start looking for those things you put off.
Ooh.
Okay. When I first started, I was still doing insulin resistance at the time, but I noticed that I was teaching people all day long how to do their website, but it took me 18 months. And at about that point, I was like, and I wasn't doing it. I just kept putting it off. And I was like, there's probably a block here. And
Wow.
so I started going through the recognition of the block. Unfortunately, that was a small one. So I was like, okay, I know it's a block. I'm just going to do it. Sometimes you can do that with blocks. Just say, I see it. I'm going to step over it. Okay. But if you're noticing consistent procrastination, if you're noticing anxiety when that task comes up, those are 2 really good signs that there is a block around it. Especially if in your gut of guts, you know that you have the techniques, you know what you should be doing, and you just can't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennie, for today. I appreciate it. I think it's like a world of value. And I know they'll get a lot of value in coming to you. I know I'll get a lot of value in coming to you. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else that you want to leave for our listeners or tell them before we go?
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. If it's a block, it can be cleared. If it's a skill, you can learn it. Just have some faith in yourself, because we have faith in you. If you don't have faith, borrow ours.
Oh, thank you so much. You are much appreciated. I really appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into today's episode of Entrepreneurial Truth. One tool that I can truly recommend on how you can organize and execute systems is Notion. Notion allows you to seamlessly get information out of your head and into a centralized, organized space. Whether it's documenting processes, managing projects, or brainstorming ideas, Notion can be your go-to platform. As a special offer to our listeners, you can get started with Notion using the link in the episode description. By using our affiliate link, you not only support our podcast, but also gain access to free templates designed to kickstart your journey with Notion. These templates are specifically crafted to help entrepreneurs streamline their workflows and boost productivity. To take advantage of this offer, simply visit the affiliate link below to sign up and explore the free templates available in the resource section. Whether you're a solopreneur, managing a team, Notion can be the game changer you've been looking for. Stay tuned for more episodes where we dive deep into strategies, tools that can empower you as an entrepreneur. And don't forget to subscribe to Entrepreneurial Truth so you never miss an episode filled with actionable advice and insights. Thank you once again for joining us today. Until next time, keep innovating and scaling your business with purpose. Thanks again.